What is going on, y'all? Welcome back to the Locks DFS NHL Breakdown. I'm your host, Adi Narang, and I'll be breaking down this 10-game main slate on Saturday, March 9th for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get into that, though, if y'all can go ahead and leave a like and comment on this video, not only would it mean a lot for me and getting more views on this video, but you'll be entered into winning our weekly giveaway. We announce the winner for those every Sunday or Monday, depending on which video comes out. And so that is tomorrow or the next day. So make sure you guys are liking and commenting to get entered into that giveaway. As you guys know, we just like to give back to our most active members, most active viewers, those leaving positive comments, and just hook them up with a free season pass. So we'll pick a winner either tomorrow or Monday. So make sure you guys enter into that. And with that being said, let's jump right into this slate. So it's a really big slate. So we're only going to talk about a few players at each position that I like at So I'm going to try and switch up the price points to give you guys a good blend of players. But let's just start at the top at the center position. So the most glaring thing every time you pull up an NHL slate, the most glaring thing you want to look for is if Ottawa's playing. Ottawa is playing in this slate, and they are by far the worst defensive team in the league over the last 10 games, ranking last in expected goals against per 60 and last in high danger chances against per 60. And now they're in a road matchup versus a Boston team that probably is going to punish them because of that. And so my favorite high price center is Patrice Bergeron at 7.9K. Just an elite matchup, second on Boston at iCourse4 per 60. It's looking like Jake DeBrusk is going to miss this matchup, which could put an increased emphasis on this first Boston line to perform. As you can see, Boston, it's a deep team, but without Jake DeBrusk, they'd start looking more one-lining than usual. And as always, this first line correlates perfectly on the first unit power play as well. This Danton Heinen spot may switch with the Jake DeBrusk news. If he's in, he may get bumped to the second unit power play. But regardless, a really, really good play. But I'll talk about him a bit later. But yeah, so my favorite high price option here at center, Patrice Bergeron. Love him tonight versus Ottawa. Scrolling down a bit farther, though, the other thing you look for on every NHL slate is if Chicago is playing, because Chicago, as you can see, is just as bad of a defensive team. They actually rank second worst in expected goals against per 60 over the last 10 games and third worst in high danger chances against per 60. And I love going back to this Dallas first line. We've talked about him before. I'll talk about him again. Seguin, Radulov, and Roope Hintz, they don't correlate. Roope is not on the first unit power play. He's on the second unit power play, and Jason Spezza's on the first unit. But the fact that Roope is seeing power play time is enough for me to talk about him later. But Tyler Seguin, leading Dallas in iCourse4 per 60, shoots the puck a ton, and he's got an amazing matchup at home versus Chicago. Both Boston and Dallas, the two highest team totals next to Tampa on the slate. Boston at 4-1, rising to 4-2, which is great for Bergeron. And then we have Dallas at 4, rising to 4-1. We rarely see Dallas with a 4-1 team total, so a really good spot to take advantage of some of these guys on both sides, on both the Dallas and Boston side. So I really like the high price range of center, but scrolling down a little bit farther, one guy I feel like I should talk about is Nazem Kadri. So seeing this big O by his name may reduce his ownership, but he is expected back this game versus Edmonton. Toronto projected for a really healthy 3.6 goals. And when Nazem Kadri's on the road, he doesn't really have to be worried about being used in that shutdown role that they tend to use him in at home. Not so much this year, a lot last year. But they tend to use this Kadri line, this third line, as their shutdown line at home. But on the road, obviously, they don't get to match him up. So he will avoid the McDavid line for most of the night. And he's going to go ahead and inherit his role back on the first unit power play, which is a big reason why we want him. Edmonton, one of the worst penalty kills in the league, ranking third from the bottom. A real good spot for this Toronto power play one. And Nazem Kadri at 4.3K is just way too cheap. Moving on to winger, though, I'm not going to talk too much about this high price range of winger. A lot of great options here from Kucherov, Marchand, Radulov. All these guys are also plays, but everyone knows that, so I'm not going to spend too much time talking about him. The two guys I wanted to talk about, one being Ryan Nugent-Hopkins at 5.9K. Just a bit too cheap if he's going to maintain this role, skating on the wing of Connor McDavid. Was skating their last game, scored a goal. No surprise, he's skating with Connor McDavid and Corlitz on the first unit power play with them. This Edmonton-Toronto game is a game that we could see be fairly back and forth, fairly high scoring. Edmonton has generated their fair share of offensive chances over the last 10 games, ranking 10th in the league in high danger chances for per 60. While still giving up their fair share, ranking 10th in the league in high danger chances against per 60. So could be a fairly high scoring game here. And I like getting Nugent Hopkins, which is essentially Connor McDavid exposure at a reasonable price. And then scrolling down a bit farther, I just wanted to touch on Danton Heinen again. 5.1K, skating on that first line with Bergeron and Marchand. And as of now, looking like Jake DeBrusk is going to miss, so he will get that first unit power play time as well. That's just everything. He's a little bit priced up here on DraftKings at 5-1, but I'm more than willing to pay that. And then let's see. Over here on FanDuel, he is priced at 4.4K, so he's a lock over here. If he maintains that role on the first line, which I anticipate he will, and on the first power play, which I anticipate he will. And the last guy I want to talk about at winger is just a little bit farther down. It's Roope Hintz. Again, I don't want to just I don't want to let it slide that he's 3,700 skating on the first line on one of my favorite teams. Sort of like a Danton Heinen play. Doesn't correlate on the first unit power play. Doesn't shoot the puck too much. He's got an iCorsi for per 60 around 12, which isn't great, but it certainly isn't bad. And the fact that he's getting power play time, it may not be on the first unit because, again, this is wrong. He's on the second unit. It may not be in the first unit, but it's still valuable that he's getting that time regardless. So really like him in this spot. I think Dallas scores multiple 5v5 goals, and their first line is probably going to be involved in most of those. So great play there. And then moving on to defense, the two high-priced guys that I really like, no surprise, are Torrey Krug and John Klingberg. I just think these spots versus Chicago and Ottawa are so valuable that you can't be overexposed to them. Both these guys shoot the puck a ton for defensemen. Both have iCorsi force per 60 over 13. Both of them correlating on their first unit power play with the plays I mentioned earlier. Bergeron, Heinen for Boston, as well as Sagan, Radulov, all those guys for Dallas. Just elite correlation plays. I think there's enough value to go around at winger that you can fit in some high-priced defensemen. But if you do want to come a bit cheaper at defenseman, this is a guy I talked about yesterday, and I'll go back to him again. It's Will Butcher at 2.9K. Not a sexy player or anything by any means. The main reason I'm looking at him is because he's still getting that power play 2 time. He was getting power play 1 time, but Damon Severson's been good in that role. So he's going to maintain the power play 2 time, but last game when New Jersey had a power play, they rolled out their power play 2 first. So they could be using this sorry, a little under the weather. They could be using this their power play as a 1A, 1B kind of thing, as we see like other teams like Montreal do. So don't view it as a power play 2, view it as a power play 1B. But just the fact that he's getting this kind of these kind of minutes or this kind of role, Vatanen is still out, so he's still going to have a safe minute floor of around 20. He shoots the puck a fair amount, and he's basically in the same role he was all year, but all year he's been priced around 3.8K. Now he's 2.9K. So he's got a good matchup versus a Rangers team that is struggles on the penalty kill, ranking seventh from the bottom, and ranking second worst in high danger chances against per 60. So just a bad defensive team. Definitely a spot we can take advantage of. Even though New Jersey generates no chances, we can certainly go there for value with Will Butcher, maybe even Damon Severson at 3.8K. So yeah, with that being said, quick talk about goalie. Just remember to correlate your goalie with your team so that if your team does well, gets a bunch of goals and assists, ideally your goalie gets the win as well. So just make sure you're doing that, and make sure you're not taking skaters against your goalie, just all the basic stuff, because goalie, as we saw yesterday, can be a total shit show. My favorite goalie was Curtis McElhinney on DraftKings, especially when he got the news late that he was starting. 6.8K, awesome matchup, heavy reverse line movement on Carolina, and they got waxed 8-1. Then who else? Tuukka Rask. Well, I forgot who else played yesterday, but it was a crazy slate, and goalies was a mess. So do your best with goalie, and as far as all that goes, I think I'm good here. So thank you guys for watching the video. Make sure to like and comment to be entered into that giveaway. I hope you guys win a ton of money tonight, and I will see y'all on Monday. Peace.